Peace and love, peace and love. It's your brother Isaiah again with another one for all my conscious brothers and sisters in the conscious community. Keeping the struggle because we know it's through the struggle that we grow. Also, I like to say that it is, in fact, a slow process for progress and that the race. It's never to the swift, it's only to those that remain dutiful. So make sure you stay in this thing for the long haul. Y'all already know that my videos, they never constitute any legal advice for I'm not a legal counsel. I'm not an attorney or any of those things. I'm just your brother. I just share with you education and information about my walks and travels throughout my journey called life. And I like to extend these honors to you. Because when you're honoring man and you're honoring woman, you're honoring yourself. So let me give our honors and adoration to Allah, who is the hidden temple of my life, and extend that same love and courtesy to all his messengers and prophets. Peace to all of you, beloved brothers and sisters, and grand rising to all of God's people, chosen people. How y'all doing today? I'm blessed. I'm gradually unfolding in the womb of these two different worlds, taking everything, everything in step stages and degrees. I wanna talk real ID. We're gonna talk about the identity. The state had to do the Real ID Act and things like that. So, one thing we want to know what real identification is. We want to know anything that may be beneficial to us. So I'm gonna pull up part of the code, and this is 18 USC 1028. This is fraud related to activities in connection with identification documents, authentication features, and information. Okay, so let's get into it. So whoever in circumstances described in this subsection, this section knowingly and without lawful authority produces an identification document, authentication features, or false identification documents. All right, so let's look at this word produce. All right, so to produce includes alter, authentic, or assemble. All right. And then they say that an identification document means a document made or issued by or under the authority of the United States government, a state, political subdivision of a state, a sponsoring entity of an event designated as a special event of a national significance, a foreign government, political subdivision of a foreign government, an international government, or an international quasi-government. Quasi-governmental organization which, when completed with information concerning a particular individual, is of a type intended to commonly accepted for the purposes of identification of individuals. Okay. So whoever produced a false identification document, and then when we look at authentication features, it says the term authentication features means the hologram, watermark, certification, symbol, code, image, sequence of numbers or letters or other features that either individually or in combination with another feature is used by the issuing authority on an identification document, documents making, implement, or means of identification to determine if the document, what is that? I can't even see it. My phone cracked. If the document is counterfeit, altered, or otherwise falsified. So, and then in a false identification document, the term false identification document means a document of a type intended or commonly accepted for the purposes of identification of individuals that is not issued by under the authority of a governmental entity, or was issued under the authority of a governmental entity, but was subsequently altered for the purposes of deceit and appear to be used, or issued by or under the authority of the United States government, a political subdivision of a state, a sponsoring entity, or an event. So they saying you got companies issuing false documents as if they are really from the government, and they not. You know what I'm saying? They actually private identifications, like you're a part of a membership or some type of program, and they trying to treat you. They're not telling you that it's a program. Like a driver's license is a program. You're in the DMV has a membership. It's a program. So, but they're not telling you what it is. So it's a deception, because the reason why it's cohesion, because they're not giving full disclosure. Okay, they're not telling the people everything that's going on, right? So, but anyway, we're gonna keep reading, right? I just want you to just, be aware that, man, you can be deceived and not even know it, right? We're gonna keep reading though, because I'm gonna let it speak for itself. Knowingly transfers, right? So to transfer includes selecting an identification document, false identification document, or documents making, implementing, or placing, or directing the placement of such identification document, false identification document, or documents making or implementing in online location where available to others. Okay, so when they doing stuff like that, right? So knowingly transfers an identification document, authenticated features, or false identification document, knowing that such document or features was stolen or produced without lawful authority, right? It says knowingly possesses with intent to use unlawfully or transfer unlawfully 5 or more identification documents than those issued lawfully for the use of the possessory, right? Authenticated features of false identification documents knowingly possesses an identification document other than one issued lawfully for the use of the possessor, right? Authenticated features are a false identification document with the intent such document or features be used to defraud the United States, right? So when you understand, man, I ain't gonna get into it. Let's keep reading. Knowingly produces or transfers or possesses a document making, implementing, or authenticating features with the intent such document making, implementing, or authenticated features will be used in the production of a false identification document or other document making, implementing, or authenticated features which will be so used, right? knowingly possesses an identification document or authenticated features that is or appears to be an identification document or authenticated feature of the United States or a sponsoring entity of an event designated as a special event of a national significance, which is stolen or produced without lawful authority, knowing that such document or features was stolen, produced without such authority. All right, so a lot of times you see it's repeating itself. Knowingly transfers, possesses, or uses without lawful authority a means of identification. So, a means of identification. All right, the means of an identification means any name or number that may be used alone or in conjunction with any other information to identify a specific individual, right? A specific individual, including any name, social security number, date of birth, official state government issued driver's license, or identification number, alien registration number, government passport number, employer or tax identification number, unique biometric data such as fingerprints, voice prints, what is that, retina, or iris image, or any other unique physical representation, unique electronic identification number, address, or routing code, telecommunication, identifying information, or access device, right? Defined in this section. So anything, any kind of number, code, anything that identifies a certain particular individual, right? And keep that in mind, right? So, who knowingly transfers, possesses, or uses without lawful authority a means of identification of another person with the intent to commit or to aid or abet or in connection with any unlawful activity that constitutes a violation of federal law or that constitutes a felony under any applicable state or local law. Or see, so if the federal government had to come in and make them do the Real ID Act, then what was they doing that was wrong? I mean, because most people never really nobody never really think about like, well, what was they doing wrong that, because I don't know what's different about my real ID versus the ID that they had at birth, because they doing it in a deceptive way where you won't know what's actually going on. So, you know what I'm saying? So somebody been doing some kind of deception. Somebody been manipulating to their benefit by doing things in a way that they know is illegal, but they're allowing it to happen when they know that it's not right, right? So this is what they talking about, like playing on other people's ignorance, right? Like, we're gonna keep reading though. I want you to be with me though, because I'm trying to show you something, right? Check this out. Now it says, I'm gonna read that again. It says, who knowingly transfers, possesses, or uses without lawful authority a means of identification of another person with the intent to commit or aid and abet in or in connection with any unlawful activity constitutes a violation of federal law or that constitutes a felony under any applicable state or local law or knowingly traffics. Y'all remember I was showing about trafficking in persons, right? Like, okay, what I'm trying to take you somewhere. Let's look at this word traffic, right? Traffic means transport, transfers, or otherwise disposes of to another as consideration for anything of value, or make or obtain control of with the intent to so transport, transfer, or otherwise dispose of, right? So if anybody take anything from, if you get something from somebody and then they take it and it turn into something where, like if a cop write a ticket and you take the ticket and then it converts over into something of value, which starts a whole case in court to where all these people are involved, bonds and stuff, that's trafficking. That's what it's talking about. That's trafficking. You see what I'm saying? So, all right, so we're gonna go back. All right, let's keep going though. All right, so now knowingly traffics in false or actual identification features. So they trafficking with documents, meaning you've been playing on our intelligence. You've been going in our communities and you've been doing things that it's not right. And because the people are not awakened or not knowing what's really going on, they don't want to come out and just say it because it expose everybody. But they trying to tell them, man, y'all need to clean y'all shit up, man. Y'all need to stop doing that and get some real IDs out here because we don't want to get in trouble of no human rights laws. That's what they taught. They don't want. They can't just come out and say it. They can't, but they doing things. They passing things to make them do things right. But you know, these people have like a savage mentality. Okay, now let's keep going. I'm trying to take you somewhere. Like, watch this. So they knowingly traffic in false and actual identification features for use. False identification documents making, implementing, or means of identification shall be punished as provided in subsection B of this section. The punishment for an offense under subsection A of this section is, except as provided in paragraph 3 and 4, a fine that under this title or imprisonment for up to 15 years or both, if the offense is the production or transfer of an identification document, authenticated features, or false identification document that is to appear to be an identification document or identification features issued under the authority of the United States, or a birth certificate, or a driver's license, or a personal identification card, right? The production or transfer of more than 5 identification document authenticated features or false identification documents. An offense under paragraph 5 of such subsequent or an offense. So wait a minute. Let's read this again because I know I ain't tripping. Let read it before I even say something. Let us read this again. So the production or the transfer of an identification document, authenticated features, or false identification document that is or appears to be an identification document or authenticated features issued by under the authority of the United States, right? Or a birth certificate. What do you mean, or a birth certificate? Huh? Or a birth certificate or a driver's license? Or a personal identification card that they call a state ID that appears to be issued under the authority of the United States government, because it's not talking about the United States District of Columbia. It's talking about the United States government. Hold up, let's go back. Let's reread this, because you got to know the difference in the United States government and the United States district, which is the U.S. district state, which is the federal district state. All right. So when you're talking about the United States government, you're talking about the national government. All right. We got a national government, and then we also got a district state government. Okay. So we got 2 state governments. All right. And when you understand how things run, right, on these different levels, because you'll start understanding what it's talking about when it's talking about identification documents. They have to have certain authenticated features, and they have to identify a person, in particular person, correctly in order to be considered as a real ID. So if they wasn't issuing documents in such a way, like if any of us had an OID or had an ID issued by any of these institutions before they start issuing real IDs, right? You can go at them for any injuries you suffered under that false identification card, but you got to learn what the false authenticating features were that made the card not considered as a real card. So education is a key in understanding like certain things. That's how they know that they plan on us like we idiots, because most of us, when we get a card, we don't even know if it's correct or not. You'll be like, what's the difference? See, but I can show you the difference in a real card and a fake card, right? And why they like to use fake cards. All right, now check it out. It says, except as provided in 3 and 4, find under this section. All right, I already read that. I'm down here. All right, so the production and transfer of more than 5 identification documents, authenticated features, or false identification documents, an offense under paragraph 5 of subsection, or an offense under paragraph 7 of subsection that involves the transfer, possession, or use in more means of identification if, as a result of the offense, any individual committing an offense obtain anything of value aggregating 1,000 or more during any year period, right? All right, so man, boy, that's crazy when you comprehend what they doing. Oh man, it makes so much sense, man. That's crazy. All right. So, hey, it says except as provided in 3 and 4, defined under this title, or imprisonment for more than 5 years or both is an offense, is if the offense is any of the production, transfer, or use of the means of identification and identification document, authenticated features, or false identification documents, or an offense under paragraph 3 or 7 of such subsection. A fine under this title or imprisonment for not more than 20 years or both if the offense is committed to facilitate a drug trafficking crime or in connection with a crime of violence after the prior conviction under this. So like, once you like, you got to really go in here and really like get into this, like, and really see like what makes a document an actual real ID, and what features and what things have to be within the document that makes it a real identification card. You see what I'm saying? Like certain watermarks and images, features, right? Because it's like telling you everything about the document making implement, right? Let's go over this, right? Document making implement means any implements, impressions, templates, computer files, computer disk, electric device, or computer hardware or software that is specifically configured and primarily used in making identification documents, a false identification document, or another document making implement, right? And then, so when you say United States government, right? If you look up the United States government, all right, the government of the United States. I mean, they use a lot of phrases that throw you off, because when you think of US, right? But you say the United States government, and a lot of these institutions is issuing things and they falsifying a lot of the records, and they not identifying real men and women. They're identifying some type of legal entity and making men and women operate under a false identity. without actually truly being recognized. You see what I'm saying? And then making you pay fees and fines and all these different things that they've been and you know, Trump be trying to say little stuff like without actually saying too much, because you know they can't say, you can't say, or you can only say but so much. Like when you know, when you start learning certain stuff, you can only but say so much. You know what I'm saying? Certain stuff you just can't. It ain't gonna. You ain't gonna be able to just put it out. Like it's just certain stuff I know I just can't, because with knowledge also comes responsibility. So you got to become responsible with what you're doing. You got to know and become wise with how you deliver your messages. Uh, it becomes a actually where much is given, much is expected of you. As an individual, I have a lot that's expected of me to be able to know what I have and what I've been blessed with, and to know how to use it right, to know how to deliver my message right, and to know how to convey things properly to where uh, you know, I'm doing things wise, and not to the point to where it's just all like where you're doing things that can cause chaotic mess, to where people can think people would do things and then you go chaotic. Like if somebody got on here and I showed you and I say take this and you do this and you put this together, like a lot of people be doing, and they be like, yeah, and then you send it and then you do that, and then people start, you got all these people trying to do this stuff and send it, and if it's not correct, then that's causing a lot of flow of incorrect flow of people writing, people saying stuff that's incorrect. And you know what I'm saying? It'd be like things like that. And that's why they be like, it's just almost like somebody always running down your street all the time, flying in their car. Then before you know it, they put speed bumps in the road, right? Preventive measures to stop people from doing certain things that's incorrect. And people say, oh, they changing. No, they're not changing anything. They're stopping that because that's incorrect. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, as you start learning more and you start growing, you start realizing that everything ain't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And people have to qualify themselves, you know, to acquire knowledge, or to acquire understanding or understanding of all of these different concepts and things that's actually happening in this day and time. Uh, I say it all the time. It's more spiritual than it is anything. If you're looking from a physical aspect, you're missing a lot of stuff. So the source is to look within first. Okay, go within yourself and find that place, that source within yourself. You gotta work from inside outwardly. If you work from outside, you're gonna destroy what's inside. You gotta first purify what's in, and then you pour that outwardly. You see what I'm saying? Because you want the source, the inside, to be strength. You want all of that to be strong. So you don't allow nothing to come in there and destroy that, because that's where you really at. You really in there. You really inside where you putting the food at, where you everything you eating. That's really where source is at. Source is inside the systematic genetic makeup that's made. We got to understand that we have to protect, you know, what we've been given, and we have to become too wise to grow, to understand health and what we're eating. We got to know real food from fake food, and processed food, and you know, real healthy things that come and grow naturally from, you know, the earth. You got to know what your body needs and what it doesn't need. You know, these are responsibilities that we all have to grow. You know, like, I don't knock people, but you know, I feel like people get so wrapped up in living this life to them, they're not willing to make changes, even if it meant saving themselves. Some people know they're gonna die from this or die from that if they don't change, and they still continue to do it regardless, even with the thought knowing that it might kill them. Stuff like that. Like people play risky things and take chances with the wrong thing. I don't think you should change playing with what you've been given. But I say that to say that, like, man, like take this opportunity now to learn as much as you possibly can and grow as much as you possibly can and educate yourself because like most people don't even know whether a document is legit or not just by looking at it anyway. What makes it legit? Stuff like that. Stuff like that. And it's things that you have to learn. So all these different, so the United States government and its municipalities issuing out these documents with the names and social security numbers, dates of birth, and official state government issued driver's licenses or identification numbers, alien registration numbers, government passport number, employee or tax payer identification numbers, unique biometric data such as fingerprints and voice print, right, and all of that. Hold up, go down. Term personal identification card means an identification card issued by a state or a local government solely for the purposes of identification. The term produce includes alter, authenticate, or assemble. And the term transfer includes selecting an identification document, false identification document, or documents making, implementing, and placing or directing placement of such identification document, false identification document, or document making, implemented, online, located, right? So, basically they saying where they supposed to be making real IDs rather than they supposed to be making real IDs that are required by their state government to make under the United States government. But if they're making cards that do not meet the requirements to fully verify the true identity of the individual with the card, then that's considered as a false identification card because it's not within the proper standards that it should meet in order to properly identify the person holding the card. So it could be construed that you are something other than what you are. You see what I'm saying? And then that right there, if you're not that identification card could be some kind of card where it's not identifying you right, and when you use it, right, when you use that card, it's creating a value, or they're using that card to create valuable instruments against you, like tickets and what I'm saying, stuff like that. So like it all depends on like if the card is being used for deceptive means in order to generate revenue and stuff like that, but it's not actually identifying the person properly. It's keeping you in a state to where you'll always be liable or misidentified in a way where you always hold some type of liability under the fact that the card is not proper and you're not financially able to even understand the things with the card that's wrong, that and why you're not being properly identified. See what I'm saying? And when you in that kind of situation, then yeah. So I ain't gonna keep going, man. I just wanted to come on here and say this, man. Like, y'all go check this out and read it for yourself again. And yeah, read it for yourself again. So Cause all right, so let me say this. Let me say this so I can bring a little light. All right, so you have the United States government, and then you have the United States of America, which is our national government, right? That's the national government. Then you got the state government, which is the United States. The United States is the state government. It's the district state government. And then you got the actual government, the national government on a national level. All right. A lot of people get confused because the district government is still named the United States. So a lot of people don't understand what's being said. So the district state, the United States government, which is an actual entity that's authorized to issue identification cards and documents as a sub agency with the actual federal, I mean the actual national government, okay, which is our actual government. Our actual government is the Department of State. So when you understand the national side of the political scheme of things, then you understand that on the state level, when you're dealing with the state, the federal and state governments, right? You're dealing with the District of Columbia, right? So when you're dealing with the district state has the authority to issue identification cards and stuff because the district state is where most of the commercial activities take place. Like, so in a district, that's where you got Walgreens, Walmart, you got Skate King, you got the big townhouses and all these different things that are provided as services throughout the public, right? So now when you're dealing like that, so they have the rights to identify individuals and do business and so forth, and they're supposed to have certain bonds and things in place with those institutions in order to give them the rights to do exactly what they're doing. Okay, so now when these companies issue out cards, they supposed to issue out the card into the full standard of what their state government requires to properly identify. If the federal government is saying, this is what it is right here, they got to follow those same standards. They can't issue cards that don't meet those required standards. And so most they got you going to get an identification card from them as if they are the government, and then then you run around with a state card from the state government that don't even meet the full requirements to even identify you. You know what I'm saying? And then they using that card to charge you, to lock you up, to do everything that they doing. Every time you get pulled up, they using your social. Your social is being used against you so much, But when you go get your passport, they can't do all of that. So that's why they always want you to get a state ID, or they'll try to look past the passport and see if they can find any other information in there and use that instead of trying to use your passport. See, because they ain't supposed to be using they ain't supposed to be using identifications that identify persons to identify men and women. If you're a man or a woman, then it should identify on the ID that they dealing with a man or that they dealing with a woman. And if they don't accept that identification and use any other information, then they committing a violation. That's a violation of due process of law. You can't use information contrary to the information that was presented to you at the stop. And that's what a lot of these cops do. They'll go contrary to what you give them and go in and try to see if the state got any information to a person name, and then they'll give your name in the opposite way of which the passport is presenting it. You see what I'm saying? Because the passport is not saying that your last name on your passport is your first name, it's your surname. And on your passport, it's saying that your first name is your surname. It's saying that your first name is Bay, then is Isaiah Jakim. That's what the passport says. It says Bay Isaiah Jakim. That's what it says. So, but he's not putting it in the system as Bay Isaiah Jakim. He's putting it in the opposite way. You see what I'm saying? To violate you, he's changing the duration of your surname. Your surname is supposed to be at the front of your name, and he putting it at the end of your name, and he ain't supposed to be doing that. Okay, none of these companies are supposed to, like, your birth certificate. That's actually what the misrepresentation is on your identification. You see what I'm saying? Because your surname is your first name. You're actually identified by your family name first. That's the first name you inherited as a living being. Your first name is your family name. And then your mother gives you a name after you're born. So when you identify yourself and don't honor your father first, and then honor what your mama gave you, you're in violation of what the Bible says. It says, honor thy mother and thy father. It says mother because we know we honor mother because we come out the womb, but you gotta remember your father. You can't forget your father. That's why it says honor thy mother and thy father. You can't just honor your mama. You got to honor your father. Y'all quick to say the name your mama gave you, but what about the name your daddy gave you? Huh? And if it was before the name your mama gave you, then why you not honoring your father's name first? Huh? Don't talk about, listen. And this is just real talk, man. This is just we just having a deliberate conversation. And these are things that I've learned to educate myself to understand certain facts that, when you understand what misrepresentation is, you understand what's wrong. So just honor your father, man. Honor thy mother and thy father, honor both of them. Okay? And don't let nobody change your name to make it mean other than who you are. You know what I'm saying? You can't turn my name around. What? You gonna turn my name around? You gonna turn my name around and put my family last? Hold up. So, when you understand, man, I think I'm gonna pull up one more thing. I'm gonna go with one more. All right, because I want you to see. I believe, and this is me. I believe that you should know what certain stuff is and what it's for. Because not knowing could seriously uh, Okay. So this is the general power of attorney form, right? It's by an individual for a collection of certain checks drawn on the United States Treasury, right? So it's pretty much just where we're gonna go to the instructions. I believe that when you find a form, you should read the instructions, right? So this is the instructions for the form. It's kind of small. I can't see that. Kind of low. I gotta bring that up. I can't see that far. All right. So this is the instructions for a physical service form. So this form is a physical service form, right? It does not. All right. I ain't gonna tell you. We're gonna read it, right? So it's giving us the section in the code where we can read what this form is pertaining to. So you go to the C31 CFR Part 240, right? So that's where all this is coming to, right? So it says the general power of attorney may be used for endorsement. So the form is used to make endorsements. Okay, I want you to understand what you're reading. Okay, so you may be used for endorsement and collection of checks drawn on the United States Treasury in payment of principal or interest on public debt obligations or guaranteed by the United States, right? Tax refund and payment for goods and services. So this thing right here covers everything. All right, now let's keep reading because you might wonder, you be like, dang, well, how can I, brother Isaac, can I use that for? Let's keep reading. Let's just keep reading, though. Let's just keep reading. The general power of attorney form should not be used by taxpayers and / or their representatives to authorize the Internal Revenue Service to mail tax refund checks to anyone other than the taxpayer. And then it gives you the section where you can go read that, right? I suggest you go check that out because I already did my own work. All right, let's check it out. Now it says for all other classes of payments, but subject to the limitations concerning the mailing of Internal Revenue refund checks contained in 26 CFR 601.506C. A special power of attorney form, FS Form 232, is required. However, a special power of attorney form 233, naming an attorney in fact and reciting that it is not given to carry into effect an assignment of rights to receive the payment either to the attorney in fact or any other person may also be used. Where desirable or where required by foreign, state, or local law, this power of attorney should be acknowledged before a notary public or other officer authorized by law to administer oaths, generally if in a foreign country the acknowledgement should be made before the United States diplomatic or consular authorized to administer oaths, but his official character and jurisdiction must be certified by a United States diplomatic or consular officer under the seal of his office, right? Then it says, where the power of attorney is acknowledged pursuant to paragraph 2A, the seal of the attesting officer, right, must always be impressed or stamped, provided, however, that where acknowledgement before a notary public or other officer by law to administer oaths are not thus authenticated by an official impress seal of such officer, the power should be accompanied by a certificate from the proper official showing that the officer was in commission on the date of the acknowledgement. So it's saying that if they don't have an impressed seal that they stamp on there, then you have to take it to like the Secretary of State and authenticate they stamp to show that they are actual notary, because they don't have a seal. You see what I'm saying? So that's what it's talking about. It says the date when the official commission expires should appear in any event. It says if a certificate is furnished, such certificate should show the dates of the beginning and expiration of the officer's commission, and such period of the commission should include the date of acknowledgement of the power. Notwithstanding the foregoing, persons subject to the military jurisdiction may acknowledge powers of attorney before officers specially designated for the purposes pursuant to laws. So, right, this power of attorney is revoked by the death or incompetence of the grantor, right? And may also be revoked by notice from the grantor to the parties concerned. A notice of revocation to the Treasury will not ordinarily serve to revoke this power, right? So it's saying that you ain't gonna be able to just go to the Treasury and say you can't revoke it by doing that. It says if it is the desire that checks be mailed to an attorney instead of to the payee, it says formal notice of change in the post office address identifying the checks affected should be forwarded to the administrative office that authorized the insurance of the checks, right? So it's basically saying that this right here allows you to endorse the services over or anything over to the United States to receive payment. You see what I'm saying? Accepting your rights to receive the amounts that you're entitled to. You know what I'm saying? By assigning the debt or assigning the account, using this power of attorney, giving yourself an official agent, right, who will have the authority to act on your behalf and do any official act for your benefit in order to make things work, level out for you, right? So, and when you read this power of attorney, I see. Okay. All right, and then right below that, for all you that ain't gonna read it, it says it right there at the bottom. It says power of attorney needs not to be filed with the United States Treasury. So it's telling you, and they got it in all caps because it's tired of you Negroes sending this thing in to them. That's why it's like that. They got it in all caps. Stop sending this document to the Treasury. This is not for the Treasury. This is for everybody else. Okay? Remember that. But I'm going to leave y'all as I came, man. As always, have a blessed, have a wonderful day, man. I'll catch you guys in the next video.